Hey, there we go. All right.
This thing's live.
All right, hopefully this is working. Clearly no one's watching yet because we just went live, and that's fine. But people will watch in the future. So, hey, Tom.
Maybe.
I mean, it's almost accidental.
Yeah.
Like, I'll accidentally watch in the future, probably.
That's true.
Oh, see, there you go. Someone is. There you go. All right.
Is that Nico? No.
No, I don't know. Hi.
Hi.
All right. So, anyway, we're finally in Indiana. We escaped the black hole that is Chicago and can drive and talk without Tom killing us.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Holy Havoc, which was just finished up very recently. Hello, everybody. And we're going to, debrief on it, talk about the tournament, go through the rounds. I'll try to watch the comments because they pop up.
And they disappear forever.
So if I miss them, yeah, sorry about that. First want to start out just with the obvious stuff, which is thanking Steve for running another awesome tournament, and of course Vargas.
Yep. Yeah, man, their events are just the best. I love the terrain and the people. It's a fairly tight community, 30 players, or this is 40 actually, 20 teams. It's just, I can't say enough good about it.
Yeah, it's a great event. It's well structured. Yep. Obviously, there's been, there's always a few challenges because Steve creates his own scenarios from whole cloth, has his own warlord rules, all this stuff. So there's always nuances, I think, that people might get caught up on, or some challenges people have as they move through there.
Yep.
But they're usually resolved quickly, and I think, like I said, it's a journey. Steve is trying to create something brand new. He's not just using out-of-the-book stuff.
Yep.
I want to encourage stuff like that, so I'm more than willing to put up with a few small bumps when you're laying a brand new road.
Sure, and this is not a tournament. I think we may have used that language, but that's not what Holy Havoc is. It's a narrative event in the truest sense. It's about the narrative. It's not unlike Raw.
Sure. Yeah, Raw's a little bit more wild and wacky, but sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a nice middle ground. I think it's a very competitive event. Everybody plays hard, but it's also got a lot of fun narrative. But anyways, So it was a good time overall. Thank you to everybody who voted for us for fan favorite, because we won fan favorite. I'll say that out of the top as well.
Yep.
I appreciate that very, very much. Tom and I both put a lot of love into those armies, and Tom put a lot of love into the board. I put a lot of hate in, but that's okay. So all in all, that is really deeply appreciated, probably as much as anything else, because that's just, there's no incentive there, right? There's nothing. People just vote for you because they honestly like your stuff, and that, I don't know that I've ever had a nicer expression than when you win a thing like that. So
right, and it's and that's the community. That's the community doing that. That's nothing else.
Right. Yeah. So we're gonna go through this round by round.
I guess. Do you want to have any other general kind of reflections on the event, or just kind of your?
We can start by just very quickly recapping lists. I don't think it's going to be super interesting, but not
sure.
And I don't mean every unit.
Talk about the mechanics of how the lists work.
You bring 1,500 points, you put 1,000 on the table. There you go.
Yeah. Each of us brought 15. We put 1,000 on the table. In addition to that, there were custom war scrolls, a warlord that basically everybody had the same generic warlord. They were super strong and super powerful for 1,000 points.
I'm glad to hear that the mic quality out of this is probably better than Warhammer Weekly every week. That's awesome. Start shooting that to show on my phone. So
and we're not in your convertible. That helps this time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So the warlord starts out obviously as things go on, the warlord gets more powerful. I was talking to Tom about this, and sort of an interesting nuance of this is the warlord thing.
Yep.
He starts out and he's a strong hero. No, he's strong because he's nigh invulnerable.
Yeah. He's a hero that can hold anything in the game. Period.
For probably most of the game.
Yeah.
And that's unbuffed. He's just a 3-up invulnerable guy against normal attack. He ignores
3-up. Yeah, ignores Ren, 3-up invulnerable save, and 3-up against mortal wounds.
Right.
So this dude is not taking damage.
And the thing is, in this event, he was buffable.
By your factions.
by your faction. So, plenty of people had like 2-up guys and 1-up, you had re-rolling ones and all this stuff. So, I mean, it just,
Sure.
it became very difficult for the Warlord to actually take wounds. I mean, I lost my Warlord once in the last game.
I never did. I
basically
tanked.
round 4.
Game 4, I tanked both enemy warlords for the entire... One enemy warlord for the entire game. The other one that came up to me, I turned around and spiked him in 2 rounds of combat.
Well, and that's just it. Like, that was total luck. You didn't do anything.
No.
Like,
that was dice.
Because, as you just said, your Warlord was there fighting all the time. It was probably mathematically likely that the 3 of you just sat there forever.
Yeah.
So, and that's not me bagging on that design. The problem became by the end of the tournament, he was so deadly that he could just clear units himself, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there's still some interesting refinement and sharpening of the knife on that. Yep. I love the element of it and what it communicates. It's what the event's all about.
Yeah.
It's just, we got to get that, or like there's probably some more twisting to do there, because at the end, the Warlord became such a vital component that he was, he was like too essential to, he outweighed the rest of your army. He was like an 800-900 point hero at the end in the last game. That's reality. Okay. That, like, if you were to actually point him out in that final game, he was an 800 or 900 point hero. Like, he would just wreck Nagash or Alariel or anybody. Or Gordorak. Like, pick the highest crazy heroes, he would kill all of them. Okay? And walk away. Those guys pose him no threat. In fact, statistically, the only thing that really posed most warlords a threat was just numbers. Just something that would generate, hundreds of attacks and have him roll 2s or whatever, or double 1s or whatever you happen to be on. But anyway. Okay, so that's that.
So what do you bring?
So I had Iron Jaws, and, you had a 500-point sideboard, which I didn't use except for the reconnaissance game. My list was static every time. It was a Mega Boss on Maul Crusher, 6 pigs, a Chanter, War Chanter, and 5 brutes. That's it. That's all you need.
And let me point out, this isn't an event that, like, you need most objectives, or almost all objectives, basically, you need 5+ models to hold. So you can imagine that Vince had problems holding objectives on his own.
I mean, sort of. Like, people die. Like, the tables are also very deadly. And just everything is very deadly. So big units tend to just get rocked. So, I mean, it wasn't like... Did I ever get pushed off an objective by numbers once?
No. Those pig bases did a that they clear a lot of space.
Yeah, they're huge. Okay. You had KO.
Yeah, so I took KO. I took my total points 1,500. Like, I had like 30 company. I had 12 Indran Riggers. I had 3 Sky Wardens. I had 1 chemist. I had a frigate, the 280-point frigate. I had 5 Thunderers. And this is just everything, all 1,500. I had like 5 Thunderers with rifles because they were already painted. So like I was actually proxying the cannons. I had
that is the objective, Paul. Fan favorite was the objective. That's what I was trying to capture. You got it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, it was. And I had like a Griffhound, which never saw the table. Trying to think of what else that I did. I mean, not a lot. Like, I had, again, a bunch of company, and I was very fluid with my list. I rotated around a whole bunch of stuff. Probably my favorite lineup that I ended up doing was 20 company, 10 company, a chemist, and then either 12 riggers with 2 drill cannons, 2 grapples, or 6 riggers, 6 riggers. One set of 6 had 2 grapples, one set of 6 had 2 drills. I ran some amalgamation of that, I think, over 3 matches, 2 or 3 matches, I think. But almost every other time I was customizing to the actual scenario. It was a very kind of flex-oriented list.
Yep. So, okay.
So the general tactics was this. Vince would push everything forward.
Yeah, the general tactics was suicide orcs.
Yep.
Right? Because the other thing to note about these scenarios is they tended to have very close deployment zones. That is to say, 2 of the games had 18 inches in the DMZ. 2 of the scenarios had 12 inches in the DMZ, and 1 had 20.
Yep.
So I mean, even the shortest scenario was 4 inches shorter to cover
the longest gap
in no man's land than than a normal standard, quote unquote, standard deployment, right?
Yeah.
So like an offensive army like Ironjawz that wants to get in the fight round one, like most games I was in the fight round one.
Every game we were in the fight round one. Like,
yeah,
we almost always win first.
True.
Did we ever not? Oh, when we went against Sean and them in game 4, we let them go first.
Sure.
But that's the only game.
We're still fighting round one.
Yeah.
So I mean, it made it an offensive army like that powerful, which is good as well. Like I like that. Don't get me wrong, because you get to play right away from round one. It's it's on.
Yep.
It's on like Donkey Kong right away. So the general strategy was obviously for me to just move up and engage everything right away, and start like fighting things and killing things. The Maul Crusher's inevitably going to get dragged down. Like, that guy is just going to die.
Yep.
And that's fine. Like, it's
But he's going to take some bodies with him.
Right.
Like, every single time.
Yeah, I never cherished that guy. The reality is he's there to kill as much as he can before he goes down.
And draw all the heat.
Yes, because that's what's going to happen. He's just going to... The sort of worst games with him were those where we got double turned and he only got one round of swinging. Because, that's...
Yeah.
And that's the risk that we put ourselves in by going first and charging forward. Is that so it's not like I'm blindly stumbling into that, but, you open yourself up.
It's a calculated risk.
Sure. And keep in mind, we had no spellcaster, so it's not like I can even Mystic Shield him.
0 spellcaster.
So that dude's on like a stock 3-up. He either takes it or he doesn't. He's got to just fight through it.
Yep.
So that's sort of general tactics, and then obviously Tom just shoots from the background and then brings in to hopefully grab the objectives and clean up.
Yeah, or strategic. Like if we had to delete units. My units of Endrinriggers could get in where they needed to go and normally delete whatever they touched. Like when they not always, but when they needed to put wounds on something, they normally could. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about your epic failure when we talk about game 4, sure. Talk about how you failed to do your job, and then I had to come in and back clean up for you after my failures throughout the whole game. We'll get there.
Certainly.
I don't even count that as my failure. That's really I'll talk a lot about that. Game 4 will be interesting. All right.
Yeah.
So,
for those of you that have never seen Vinny mad, it was a joy to behold. I love seeing him get worked up about Warhammer games because he never does. Anyways, let's go.
It's true.
Game 1.
Well, that's because I don't care about losing, and so
right.
Like that's what most people get worked up about. That never bothers me.
Right.
Yeah. So game 1. I don't remember the names of our opponents. I'm sorry.
They're in my Twitter feed.
Okay. Well, that's fine. I'm not going to look it up.
Okay.
I apologize to both of you. They won Best Sports.
Yeah, they did. And they were new partners. Like, they hadn't planned their armies together.
2 singles that got partnered up and were awesome dudes.
Yep.
I apologize. The only reason I don't remember the name is because we're recording this after very little sleep on the weekend and it's the ride home and all that kind of crap.
Yep.
So,
apologize.
Yes. And that was 6 games ago.
Yes. True.
So, game 1 was, what the heck were they running?
It was Seraphon?
Yes, that's right. It was Lizardman the first time we fought Lizardmen this weekend. There's a lot of Lizardmen running around.
Yeah, so they weren't dual Seraphon though, right?
No.
It was Seraphon and
Death.
That's what it was. Yeah, it was a bunch of. So it was quite the mismatch.
Well, not at all.
Well,
what are you talking about? Seraphon are basically dead.
That's true.
They're all dead. They're all ghosts. It was a perfect alignment.
Yeah, that's a good call.
So, yeah, it was Lizardmen and Death.
Yep.
And you didn't have to be in this team tournament. You didn't have to share alliance because we wanted people to be able to pair up. Yeah, we didn't, obviously. So we won the drops and went first. And the notable, I know there's a super sweet sports car in front of us that keeps going off the road. So that's
that's exciting.
But probably the biggest deal was like they had a bunch of skeletons, like so many skeletons. So it was like a unit of 40, unit of 10, unit of 10, and 20 Graveguard. Like this was 20
Graveguard, and then like 2 Necromancers maybe?
2 Necromancers in the Warlord, correct.
Yep.
So this was like a body-heavy list, which is a smart play.
With regen.
With regen, yeah. So this is a smart play in this tournament. Let me just say that. Like, most of these things, as we mentioned, require bodies to take. Bodies that can regenerate and live through the wounds are good.
Yep.
The Seraphon
table
player
does lots of wounds.
The table does lots of wounds, yeah.
Yep.
The Seraphon player can obviously pick his people up and, move them around the board and crap. He had the double, move, that command trait where you can move 2 units.
Yep.
So he had 2 Bastillodons and, 2 laser dinos.
2 units of 5 Temple Guard.
Yeah.
And
just, some other stuff. Just other stuff. The thing that happened, that game was very interesting. It was very back.
It was on the
forth.
Oak of the Ages table.
Yes.
You can go look at it on our on my Twitter feed. I took some photos of it.
And so the Oak, the key with the Oak is that it does 2 things. It broadcasts out holy wounds.
Yep.
To everybody, which are just super mortal wounds. Like, holy wounds are mortal wounds that can't be stopped by anything. Anything.
They'll punch through ward saves, too.
Yeah, so, and then it also broadcasts an aura of Battle Shock immunity. So it was sort of an interesting thing to play with because you wanted to be close to it with all these big units wanted to be close to it because they could take the 1 wound a turn. Who cares? 40 skeletons lose a guy. Woo!
Yep.
But they become Battle Shock immune. So it was neat how it played with that. And the notable thing here is that the Maw Crusher went into the Graveguard and blew up all 20 Graveguard. Like round 1, just deleted that unit.
It was glorious to behold.
Yeah, and then I don't remember. Like, he died sometime in round 2. Oh, I remember how he died.
Yeah,
I do remember how he died.
Yeah.
They piled everything into him, so they double turned us.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate. I think every chance we had to get double turned, we probably did.
Yeah.
In round 2.
Yeah.
So we could not win a round 2 priority.
No.
So they double turned us, and over the 2 rounds, I mean, they put everything into that Maw Crusher.
Yep.
Okay? And he went to 13 out of his 14 wounds.
Yep.
All right?
Yep.
And so then it came to our turn, and the tree broadcast a holy wound and killed him.
Yeah, in 18 inches. And
yeah,
so
and I was just on the edge of the 18 inches, and because that base is massive and it's hard to be outside of the range of anything.
Yep.
And the tree killed him. So my Maw Crusher died to a tree. Not a Sylvaneth, not even a Tree Lord Ancient, just a tree. A tree.
Yep. It was a big one.
Sure, a very large oak tree killed my Maw Crusher game 1. But I mean, keep in mind, he got to keep fighting through both those rounds, right? Because it took until the bottom of 2.
Yeah, and he was deep into melee combat.
Yes.
So then I came in with my Warlord and smashed some stuff up, and you moved your pigs over to the 1 objective and screened for my riggers who were over, so I mean, it went well.
It was a great game. Like, it was very back and forth. There was a lot of crazy teleporting of Bastillodons, the laser dinos and stuff.
Yep.
We ended up, 3-1 in that game, right?
3-1, yep.
Yeah. So there are 4 points you can get in every game.
Yep.
And so we got 3.
And 4 very diverse objectives that you had to juggle all 4 kind of objectives at the same time.
Right.
So it's always a very interesting game.
And by the way, it is very possible in some of these scenarios for one of those points to be 0.
Yeah.
Like, in other words, for no one to get them.
Yep.
So, there were games, I certainly saw some games that were 2-1-0 as far as the points go, or 1-1-0.
Yep.
Or, sorry, 1-1-0-0, something like that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how it can work out. Perfect scores just don't happen. There was nobody.
No, that's not true. Well,
nobody was
for
on
the whole
20.
tournament.
Yeah, for the whole tournament.
Not for the whole tournament.
You have
for the first 2 rounds, I know Domus and Tom went 4-0 and 4-1 in the first
Sure,
turn.
and then they zeroed round 3.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
yeah. It's easy, that there's enough going on in every scenario that it's just easy to lose a handle. A couple things slip away and suddenly, it's easy to zero an event.
It's easy to lose an objective or 2.
Yeah.
So the idea of a perfect record is just, that's not going to happen.
Yep. Yep.
Like if you're rocking 15, you're doing awesome.
Yeah.
So the that one was, I think, the first game where the pig power was really on display.
Sure. They were by far, I would agree with it for Vince, like they were his MVPs.
Yeah, like 6 pigs is such a crazy thing to move. It's 30 wounds, relatively mobile, easily retreats out of combat, and gets
4-up save.
Massive bases that can block out things. 4-up save. Yeah, they also have enough offensive punch to deal with most other things like that.
Chaffy things. Yeah.
Pigs are winners. Pigs are aces. A+ pigs. A+. That'll do, pig. That'll do. So
chicken and rice.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was a good game. 3-1. I felt like we couldn't have really asked for better.
Yeah.
So all right, game 2. I didn't tell anything that happened that you did during that game because I don't remember anything you did during game 1.
I shot and moved and I supported and yeah.
When you were like spending 5 years activating all your crap and shooting and doing stuff, I would just leave the table because I'm like, all right, I'll be back in like 15 minutes, 20 minutes when you're done.
Yeah.
Because like my turns are so much shorter than yours.
Yeah.
Right. Like.
Yeah.
I have like my hero face like this thing happens, this thing happens, this thing happens, go. And then like I shoot 2 things and then I charge. Like that's boop. And I'm only ever like the maximum things I can be attacking with in an incredible world. I'm attacking with 12 models.
Yeah.
And that's just not. That's
not the world.
Highly unlikely.
Yeah, like when my company would go, if they were in range, like my 20 block would fire like 6 to 12 skyhooks shots, and then another 20 because you get double shots within 12 inches for the 6-14. 28, 29 pistol shots.
See this right here?
And then
what we just saw right now, this moment, you doing that mental math is why that takes forever.
Yeah.
Right? Because not only do you have to then separate the dice and roll all those dice, you got to first calc and figure out what's going where,
what has rend and what doesn't.
What am I splitting? What's in range?
Yep.
Dot, 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 dot.
Yep.
Whereas I'm like, I know I'm in range.
Yeah.
I charged it.
Yeah. You're just pushing models forward. No, you're right. Yep.
That's not me bagging on you. I mean, it's just like I'm just saying, like it's your army is more time consuming to play.
Yep.
It's not that you're inefficient. But, I mean. So anyway, game 2.
Game 2. Game 2 was against. What was game 2? That was yesterday.
Yeah, it was yesterday. Yes.
I know we went 2-1. Marv and them were game 3.
Correct. Do you really not remember? It was against Christian.
Oh, it was against Christian. Oh, yeah. So Christian, I really didn't remember. For those of you guys that followed any of my feedback for my review of Adepticon, I played Christian in round 3 at Adepticon, and he brought some Phoenix Temple, and I was super stoked about that. And Christian did not disappoint. He brought some Phoenix Temple, a huge block of 30 Phoenix Guard.
Yeah.
You're right, folks. 1,000 points, 30 Phoenix Guard.
Yeah, an unmovable number of Phoenix Guard. So the army we were raid against in game 2, which happened on the Collegiate Arcane board.
Yep. I remember.
This was Christian and Sean.
Yep.
And Christian had 30 Phoenix Guard, a Phoenix with a dude mounted, like a Frost Phoenix with a dude on top.
Yep.
And he had like 2 groups of 10 skirmishing skanking skinks.
Yep. His battle line.
Yeah. Good choice.
Yep.
And then Sean.
And then he had 5 Sisters of the Thorn.
Yeah, 5 Sisters of the Thorn.
Yep.
Which will be relevant in a later part of this story.
Yep.
And then his buddy Sean had just a massive Darkling Covens. Like, my God. So many. It was like MSU-a-thon because he had like 10 Executioners, 10 Blackguard, 10 Dark Shards, 10 Dark Shards, 10 Dark Shards, and a Sorceress.
Yep.
whatever, like something like that, right? You get everybody gets the point. Just like,
and there were 10 Dread Spears hiding behind that village.
Oh, that's right. There was another 10 Dread Spears.
Yeah, we got to like turn 3, and you're like, wait, are those on the table?
Yeah, because I didn't even see him. Like I missed him setting them up.
Yeah,
there's so many elves, and so here's the thing that was
they were playing the Eternal, they were playing the Malekith story. Like
the Malekith army. Yeah. So this is like an ideal force for Ironjaws.
Yeah.
Like MSU is something Ironjaws will generally eat for lunch because it's a wonderful chance to, like, if you can pepper those units and weaken them, your Maw Crusher can start destructive bulking his way through multiple units.
Yep.
You can smash and bash those units into the ground and like chain activate your whole army before they swing once.
Yep.
The problem was the board.
Yeah.
It was like the worst board for us to have been on.
Yeah.
Because this Collegiate Arcane has this massive thing in the middle.
It has a road that makes it that you can't run over.
Sure, which is fine. I get that. I don't think that ever bothered me once. You can charge over it, you just can't run over it.
Right.
Like destruction move solved that problem because this was a 12-inch start.
Yeah.
So we start 12 inch.
Well, you need to talk about your item.
I'll get there.
Yeah.
So it's a 12-inch start, and so there's no running. Like I'm already
you're in charge range.
I'm already in charge range, and the problem was that thing in the middle of the board is so big.
The actual the Wizard Collegiate.
Yeah.
It's a combined Skullvein Mance and a Dreadstone Blight on a huge base.
Right.
Yeah.
So it just takes this massive chunk, and then there are 4 other buildings.
Yep. There's like a chapel.
And like forests and fences and walls. And we did have to go to Steve and say, look, can you land on top of the walls? Because otherwise we're just not going to be able to fight. Like there's going to be massive combats that just can't happen because we can't end a half-inch away from each other.
Right.
So like I don't even understand. Like, and so he's like, yeah, you can walk over the walls and stuff like that, which is the sensible thing, by the way.
Yeah.
That like, yeah, sure, you can. Yes.
So let's talk about the. Let's talk about
treasure and skill cards. Yeah. So when you achieved certain things in the games, you got treasure and skill cards. Treasure related to the Warpstone objective, and skill related to the Warlord objective. So after the first game, we had gotten one of the things we got in the first game was a treasure card, and the treasure card that I got was this thing that your Warlord could use on either himself or any other model.
No, it was just. Could he use it on himself?
I think he could. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Or another model within
another
6
hero.
inches. Another hero.
Yeah.
And it gave him +2 attacks with all of his attacks, including his ranged attacks.
Yep. For the turn.
No.
Until your next hero phase?
Yeah, I think Steve meant that, but he wrote +2 attacks. That didn't have an end on it as written.
Got it.
I was reading it as
Yeah, that needs to be fixed. But yes. Continue.
Until our next hero phase.
Yes.
Because otherwise that would be insane. So I also there was also rotating command abilities. You didn't use the command ability printed on your sheet. You used a rotating set.
Yep.
And so I had saved Incite Frenzy for this one, which was the destruction ability that added +1 attack to every weapon on your profile.
Yeah.
So the Maw Crusher's starting 12 inches off the line.
Yep.
And he's +3 attacks on all his melee and 2 attacks on his shooting.
Yep.
So normally that Cannonball Spit is such a pain because it's 2 up to hit, 3 up to wound, -1 rend, d6 damage. It's easy to just have one of those die turn against you.
Yeah.
This time he had 3 of those spits. That is, whoa, that's a different world.
Yeah.
And when you go up to like 7, so his Choppa was at 3 damage because of Destroyer. He was hitting on 2s most of the way down the line because of the
War Chanter.
Because of the War Chanter. So like round 1, this guy goes in, War Chanter buffed, 7 attacks, just blows through the unit of skinks on the destructive bulk after some light peppering, like to get him down. Blows through them, destructive bulks into the dark shards.
No, not dark shards.
What were they? Oh, blackguards.
Those are blackguards. Those are elite.
It doesn't matter. They're all the same to him. Like seriously, I could not tell the difference. Like from the vantage point of that death chicken, souped up as he was, any dark elf is irrelevant. They're all just as dead. And that's not bagging on Sean. I just mean like that there is no unit of 10 elf that's going to stop that thing.
Right.
And so
you spiked the skinks, spiked the blackguard, and took the
Frost Phoenix down to half wounds.
It was less than half. Wasn't it like
Whatever.
Four?
It took him down to 4 wounds. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Took him down to 4 wounds left. So he blows through 2 units and takes 10 wounds off the Frost Phoenix.
So the table scenario for this objective, we didn't talk about the objectives last time. The main objective here was that at the beginning of the game, you assigned 2 warp. You got like 10 warp tokens, and you would assign basically.
Oh yeah.
You're supposed to assign 2 tokens to each unit,
Yep.
or like 2 tokens amongst 5 units, and your goal was to get those units off the table, on the other off across the other side of the table. And so when I was doing the math and looking at like how my stuff worked out, I was 12 inches off their line. I realized that I could do some really hinky shenanigans.
Oh, this is shenaniganing of shenaniganing.
So
You're not going to be able to explain this in a way that's sensible. By the
yeah,
way.
well, so okay, so the
You
default
will not.
the
This will not
default
make sense.
the default command ability was a what the default command ability was that, or the one I chose this one for amongst the list, was called Form Up Around Me. And this command ability, what it did was, as long as you move closer to the Warlord, when he'll trigger this ability in his hero phase, and all units within 8 inches can move their movement speed as long as they end their movement closer to the Warlord. Okay? So I set up 12 inches on the line, I deploy the Warlord inside my frigate, okay? And then I do an MSU, units of 3 Endrin Riggers. I do 4 of them. I give 2 crystals to each of the 4 units of Endrin Riggers, and I gave 2 crystals to the frigate, okay? So all this is down, we go first. So I exit the Warlord out of the ship. He sets up within 3 inches, so the back edge of his base is, his back of edge of his base is like 9 inches from their line. Then
The front end.
the front of the frigate, he's like, he's 9 inches. The back edge of his base is 9 inches. There's not 9 inches from it to the enemy front line. So then I trigger this ability, and then everybody, all those units, the MSU units, move. The most important of those is the frigate that jumps ahead 10 inches, but because his distance gets closer to the Warlord, it's still a legal move. So now the frigate is 3 inches off of their line, which is, by the way, 10 executioners.
Sure.
Which is death to anything they're going to touch.
Sure.
And then everybody else moves up next to the frigate. So during the move phase, then, I move all of the balloon boys into the frigate, because you had to deploy these crystals on units on the table. They couldn't set up off the table. So I have the frigate with 2 of these tokens, and then 8 of these, the other 8 tokens spread across 12 balloon boys that all load into the ship. In the movement phase, then I run with a 10 movement. I'm Zilfin, so I auto run at a 6. So I move 16 inches, and I'm 2 inches off the back edge of the table.
Yep.
Top of 1 with 720 points, 740 points.
Of his 1,000 points.
Of my 1,000 points.
Are in the right rear quadrant of the board doing nothing.
Doing nothing, 2 inches from the edge.
Yep.
Again, winning one of the objectives if they cross.
And so then, long story short on this,
Yeah.
is that they turn around and do the sensible thing.
And just and then my Warlord charges into the executioners and locks the executioners in.
Right.
Yeah.
But they do the sensible thing and kill the ship over that span of the double turn. I don't remember if it was in the bottom 1 or top 2.
No, it was the bottom 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
They blow the ship up.
Because they had like 70 shots or some ridiculous number. Yeah.
Okay, so they blow the ship up. But when they blow the ship up, everybody immediately bails, and on a 1 they die.
Yep.
But when they bail, they get to bail within 3 inches of the ship. Well, if you touch the edge of the table, you're off and you score.
If you're moving and you touch the edge of the table, you're off and you score the objective. And so they kill the ship, but then my other 12 dudes, the whole unit would have to get wiped out to lose tokens. So the other 12 dudes just jump off the table.
Yep. They all bailed and automatically touched the edge. So that's 740 points or whatever of Tom's gone. Just gone, because the boat has exploded and all of his Endrin Riggers and whatever, his balloon boys just are gone. They just zip off the table. They're no longer participating in this fight.
So from turn 2 on, we played the rest of the game with like, I don't know, a
Yeah,
lot
like
less points. 1,200 points, yeah.
Yeah. So
I was like, see you, Vince. Enjoy.
Sure. The long story short on this one is that the
but that Maw Crusher is just
he's like in there just wrecking face, and like he got some Dark Shards got too close and he blew another unit of them up, and he and the Frost Phoenix did get like Sisters of Thorn buffed. And so the Maw Crusher and the Frost Phoenix, they put the Maw Crusher up to 13 wounds before the combat phase. Once again, I swung and killed myself on the Frost Phoenix Sisters of the Thorn kickback, but I killed the Frost Phoenix. So like
mutual destruction.
Mutual destruction. Yeah, we joined each other in death. So all told, he racked up, I don't know,
a lot of points.
Like, yeah, he killed his way through 3 units and a Frost Phoenix before he went down. I felt pretty good about that.
Yeah. And then we just left the Phoenix Guard alone, because when you have 30 Phoenix Guard at 1,000 points, 2,000 points, like, there just wasn't enough firepower for us to level into them.
No.
It just wasn't going to be worth it.
This was, I think, one of the 2 times during that game where I got my 5-up, like, I get to charge in your charge phase off, and it did something.
Yeah.
Because, like, the problem is I kept getting it off and not having a charge available because of just, like, the way things happen to be working.
Yep.
I need to really think about how to use that ability more smartly. Like, you have to kind of have units
be ready
and waiting, for that. And, like, just the number of units in this, because it was only a 1,000-point force, it's actually very hard to have extra units to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's just not enough units, right? If it was a full 2,000 points, you've probably got a unit of brutes or something sitting around that won't mind charging.
Sure.
Yeah. But, like, here, I had, like, 3 units. Chances are they're all in combat. Another charge doesn't matter.
Yep.
But he did, and he did manage to kill down 2 sisters, but it wasn't quite enough. He needed to kill 1 more or 2 more, and that would have actually split the terrain objective.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, it was a very worthwhile thing that he did. It just didn't quite work out nicely.
Yep. And so they ended up in the terrain objective. We got the 1 point, and I think we got the Warlord objective, maybe.
Yeah, it went 2-1-0.
Yeah, 2-1-0. Yep. So we won that one, but we didn't. It wasn't an overwhelming victory.
No, it was a super close game, and frankly, if we had the time to go another turn, and they won the priority, it would have been 2-2.
Yeah. Yep.
If they didn't win priority, it would have stayed 2-1-0.
Yep.
So whatever. But I mean, we only had 10 minutes or something when we got to the bottom of that round, and you're not going to finish 2 turns of Warhammer in 10 minutes.
Yep. We'd still had tons of models on the table.
Yeah. So that was a really good game. Like, honestly, that was a great game.
Yep. And Vince did well, only, playing the rest of that game with like 1,200 points.
Sure. I mean, it was fine. Like, again, the pigs did exactly what they needed to do. They sat around and humped that objective and were unmovable.
They held the Phoenix Guard for a turn.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they did, was they locked those Phoenix Guard down.
Yep, and then came over and just stood on the terrain objective.
Yep. No, you didn't stand on the terrain objective. You flee trying to get him to chase you.
Oh, that's
and
right.
Christian was too smart for you. He's
was
like,
too
I'm
smart.
not going after those.
I was hoping he was going to chase me, yes, but he did. He was tricksy.
Yep.
They did end up coming back around and getting into the terrain objective at the bottom. But anyway, whatever. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Irrelevant. It wasn't enough. Yeah. So game 3 was against Marv and who's his buddy?
I'm sorry, dude. I don't remember your name.
I don't remember either, but I really liked his army.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. Sorry, I don't remember your name. Nope.
It's one of the Lords of War. From the Lords of War Club.
And he was Marv was running Seraphon again, full on Seraphon.
Yep.
So he had like 80 skinks, and he had
Slon, Starmaster, Bastillodon.
Yep.
And then
that might have been it. Yeah, that was it. And then the other player was playing like true Warherd.
Like true Beastmen. Yeah.
Yeah. So Warherd, not Raider. Warherd.
Yeah, Warherd.
He had 3 groups of Minotaurs.
Yep.
A Gorgon, a Jabber, Or Jibba Jabba and a Doom Bolt.
Yep.
And this was the game where the Maw Crusher did the least, because
Sorry, I took
no,
your steam.
it was fine.
Yeah, so Vince got his big moment in the prior game. My riggers got their big moment this game. So one of the main objective here, there were two objectives that we were really working towards that were unique. The main objective was you gave a token at the beginning of the game to one unit that was not a hero or a monster. Okay, so it had to be basically like a standard, some type of standard unit. That unit gained +1 to all attacks, profile attacks. Okay? And what you did was you tallied the damage of that unit over the course of the game and add to that damage the number of rounds that unit is alive. And then...
and the person with the highest total wins.
The person with the highest total wins. Okay. So, and then the other one was you had to do, you chose another unit that was a battle line unit, and it had to do damage within 18 inches of this crystal, and so for that battle line unit, Vince chose the pigs.
Yeah.
The pigs lined up with the crystal across from the gore, like the war herd.
The Minotaurs.
The Minotaurs, sorry. Yeah. Minotaurs. And I lined up against most of the Seraphon, along with the Jabber Slythe and the Gorgon. So, directly in front of me was, one of the Warlords, the Jabber, the Gorgon, the Slon, a Bastillodon, and 40 Skinks.
Yep.
And I went pure Leroy Jenkins at the top of one. I hit a unit of 12 Endrinriggers, so it had 8 normal chainsaw boys. It had 2 drill cannons, 2 grapples. Hit them with the chemists, so they were at +2 attacks. And they went...
The chainsaws were at +2, everything else is at +1.
Oh yeah, everything else is +1. And so they ran up, they moved, and we were an 18-inch deployment. So I moved up 6 inches off their line.
No, this was the 20-inch.
Was this the 21?
Yeah, this was the longest one.
Oh, okay, maybe not. So, yeah, it wouldn't have mattered. Because what I did was I moved up 12. I started on the line, I moved up 12. So I was 8 inches off their line. They had set up all those big monsters. The Gorgon and the Jabber were in the front. Skinks were in the back. The Stildon was hiding next to the Warlord and the Slon. So I opened with all my pistol shots. I just straight blew the Gorgon off the table.
Yep,
just
down.
All the machine gun from the pistols of the riggers shot the Gorgon off the table. Because those are 3 up, 4 up, neg 1 run, 1 damage. And then the drill cannons went into the Slon. And so I had 6 drill cannon shots. I had 2. I had 4 drill cannon shots. 2 went in. I procced a D3 mortal wounds. 2 went in, 2 wounded. I did 4 to the Slon. No, I did 5 to the Slon. Splashed another D3 onto the Bastillodon of mortal wounds. And then I tried to trigger my extra D3 mortal wounds on damage and almost killed the Slon. Got the Slon down to 1 wound.
But he didn't die.
But he didn't die. He did live through the whole game. But I almost killed him. And then I grapple gunned the riggers into the Jabber because the Jabber had exactly 10 wounds.
Yep.
So I zip lined up and then charged a 3-inch charge that I got way more than that. So I got into the meat of the Skinks and the Jabber. And then I was reroll 1s on the Jabber because they're flying. So just straight assassinated the Jabber before he did anything. And put another 20-some wounds on the Skinks, in which they battle shocked another 10 more or so off, I think.
Yep. Yeah, that's about right. Yep.
And so all in all, the pure damage I did was 47 at the top of 1 from the riggers. In the next turn, I would do, at the bottom during their turn, I would do another 20 from the chainsaws. Eliminating the Skink unit, and then he just teleported everything out. Everything remaining just got the hell out of Dodge.
Sure.
And it felt good to watch those riggers do some work.
Well, they were souped up to the 9s. Yeah, that's the worst case scenario for the enemy. Those guys put 70 successful damage out that first round, something like that.
Yep.
Or by the time the bottom of 1 rolled around.
Yep. Yeah, and they weren't going to be able to catch up with that.
In other words, they removed 70 wounds from the table.
Yeah.
That's a lot of wounds.
Yeah.
The funny thing about this game was, Minotaurs are a scary thing, right? And all those Minotaurs were armed with the the two-handed axes, which is generally what I support because it's Red Egg 2. It gives you a huge chunk of Red Egg 2 guys.
Yeah.
So this was the game where I used the destruction command ability of pick a unit.
Toughen up, maggot,
yeah.
Yeah.
So that unit becomes immune to Red Egg 2 or less. So only Red Egg 3 punches through. So round 1, the pigs got the destruction move, forward 6 inches, moved their own 9, landed the charge into the Minotaurs, and were immune to Red Egg 2. So just proceeded to
grind down
the Minotaurs over the course of the game. Now, in like the bottom of the last turn, the last pig died, but there were basically no Minotaurs left, and the Doom Bull was on 2 wounds left by that point. So
now, to Marv and his teammates' credit, they really turned things around.
Oh yeah, sure.
Brandon was, I think, his name.
I would say yes.
They really turned things around because his selected unit was a pack of 40 skinks for the +1 attacks.
Yep.
And so what happened there was he teleported that within range, and he, for his like celestial whatever from the Salon, he was reroll 1s to hit. And so we had 40 skinks with 80 javelins hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s.
Yep.
And then they double turned us. And so we weathered 160 hits from them.
And I mean, even wounding on 5s, they just cleared all of your...
Yeah, they just cleared everything.
Yeah.
Like, they basically... the game was over by turn 2, and we basically went 2 and 2. Yep. So, I mean, like, truly, like, it was mutual destruction. We tabled, they tabled, 2 and 2.
Yep.
Or they didn't table, but we couldn't contest any more objectives, so we, acknowledged the conceding. Because they weren't going to be able to get the other ones.
Yep. Yeah, it was a fast, brutal game.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think the Maul Crusher swung his axe in that game. I think because he didn't have a chance to get in on anything turn 1 because of the oddities of terrain.
Yep.
And then just got shot down.
And the Bastillodon just lasered him. Laser Turtle did some work.
I mean, that and spells and everything. Like, just everything that could shot at him. And he went down.
He did what his job which was to grab attention.
Sure. It was fine. I mean, whatever. Like, that's unfortunate, but not the end of the world.
So that was the end of game 3. So far we had been 3-0, 2-1, and 2-2.
Right, so we were on 7.
Yep.
So there was an interesting little mini game, which we'll talk about quickly, that happened late night on Saturday, which was a 500-point game. No heroes, no monsters.
Or no heroes, no warlord.
No warlord.
You could do monsters.
You could do monsters, yeah. And it was, so it was 500 points. Each person had 500 points. So it was a 1,000-point total game, 1,000 on 1,000. And it was like a little recon game where you're trying to gain information for game 4 the next day.
Yep.
And ironically, we had rolled into the Azir table.
Yeah.
Which is the one everybody's probably seen of Steve's table.
Yep.
That has like the multi-levels.
Yep.
And all the realm gates and everything. So, so that game was just insane.
Right.
Because
you had almost no models and tons of space.
Right, because you also started in the far corners.
Yes.
Like, your actual starting locations were literally like the far corners of a normal 6x4 board.
Yeah.
Okay? And
you had 500 points of models in your corner.
Yeah, so I actually got out the Ard boys for this one. So my army was at 500 points, had more models than my normal 1,000-point army.
Sure.
It had 18.
Yeah.
My normal army had 14.
Yep.
And you went for...
I went for 2 units of 10 company. And then I went for 4 Endrin riggers. Oh, I'm sorry, not 4. 6 Endrin riggers with 4 saws and 2 gravels.
Right.
Yep. For the mobility.
So...
And we faced down Sean and Jake from the Detroit, from like Relian's Club. And I think Jake was on table 1 at Adepticon against Dan Heelan this year. Just excellent players. Just great players.
Yes.
And they were playing a Tzeentch/Sylvaneth
army that they had themed together.
Yeah, they had themed together.
Had a whole cool narrative around. It was awesome. It was really good. I liked their army. Like, it was neat that they had... It wasn't accidental. They thought through it. They painted a unified color scheme. It was very cool.
Unified warlords and...
Yep.
And and their army was kind of like the cheater army, and like this is their language, not ours, because they basically redefined everything.
Sure.
Because they're like
created their own terrain, set their own dice with the siege dice.
Yeah. They basically made everybody play on their terms. Staring across from me on my side of the table was Sean. Jake Lugur, was playing. He was playing 6 Skyfires, so in this 500-point game, he had 400 points of Skyfires.
Yeah.
And he had 10 Marauders and 10 Brimstones.
Yeah.
And what was staring across the table from you?
So he had 2 packs of 5 tree revs.
Jake.
Sean had.
Sean.
Had 2 packs of 5 tree revs, which are great in this scenario. The waypipes are aces in this kind of thing where you need to cover tons of space. Like, that is insanely good.
Yep.
A tenor of dryads, and then 3 bow Kurnoths.
Yep.
So I set up in the corner that had the realm gate in the deployment zone.
Yep. And there were 4 realm gates on the table.
Yes. And so one of the keys, I happen to play with realm gates on my table like every week. We just always have realm gates. And the interesting part here was that normal realm gates have an interesting restriction that you can only send 1 unit through a turn. Steve had alternate realm gate rules that was intentional, where you could send any number of units through, because he wanted people to be able to get easily up to the top.
Yep.
Right? So rather than limit it.
Yep.
Which makes sense. So I set up the Ardboys and the Brutes right around a realm gate, and I set the pigs on the upper level, because we asked, in this game, if there's part of the upper level in our deployment zone, do we get to set up in that?
Yep.
And Steve said, yeah, for this mission you can. All right, cool. So the 3 pigs went up top.
Yep.
In the heavens, on the top area, whatever you call it, and everybody else huddled around the realm gate, and so we had first turn, and because we had less units and less drops, yep. And so like immediately I just shot the Ardboys and the Brutes through the realm gate and charged the stuff that was on his point, so killed the Dryads and the tree revs.
Yep.
Didn't quite get there on the killing the tree revs, unfortunately. There were many times you and I failed to clear the unit completely, and that would come back to haunt us. But we'll get there in a minute.
Yep.
The Brutes 2 of the Brutes died to the realm gate. Rolled a 1 and just so out of 5 dice, 2 1s, which is fine.
Yep.
The other 3 of them easily killed 10 Dryads. I mean, that's not really that hard. And then the Ardboys needed. So part of the problem was I couldn't actually attack with all 10 Ardboys. I needed to chain enough back, like days to chain enough back, to keep guys
to hold the objective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had to do that in 6 seconds.
Because you got 4 points if you captured the objective. There were 8 objectives on the table that you could hold, and you would get 4 points if you were in the enemy starting zone's objective.
Right. So
you were highly incentivized to take their objectives.
Yeah, it's like a super version of whatever Battlefield Pass, whatever it's called now.
Yep.
And so I only killed 3 of the tree revs, okay, because the Ardboys kind of duffed their rolls, which was unfortunate. It happens, whatever. It's dice happen. And those other 2 dudes just immediately were like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. They waypiped the heck out of there.
Yeah.
And they went to our side.
Yep.
And the Kurnoths went through their realm gate and joined them, and then they had 5. So we just traded sides. And then I had 5 on theirs, and they had 5 on ours.
So I ran up my side of the table. I ziplined in and just like blew the brimstones, blew let me rephrase that. Like I laid into the Marauders, laid into the Brimstones. These were unbuffed, so it was easy to duff attacks. And I did enough to the Marauders died to either fighting or battle shock or something.
I think they battle shock or something.
Yeah, like by the end of turn 1, all the Marauders were dead, and I was down to 1 Brimstone.
You had 1 Brimstone horror.
Yep.
Now, we actually got all 5 rounds.
And his by the way, those 400-point Skyfires were set up on the island above me.
Right.
Yeah, like above his starter.
Yeah.
Which is where my rigger ziplined into. Yeah.
Long story short on this, not to make too much of this.
Thanks, Paul.
Not to make too much out of the very small 500-point game.
Yeah.
It was very fun,
Yes.
actually, for all the wackiness of it. The pigs rode in and took the center objective, which, if you got control of it, lets you summon like a storm of Sigmar that did a D3 wounds. So I used it and zapped off.
So the pigs went up and held that objective for the entire game.
Yeah, absolutely. They were the new champions of Sigmar. And I zapped off like one of the tree revs, which was going to stop them from scoring the 4 points. Because by this time the Skyfires had swung around and sat on our other 4
The
points.
Skyfires dropped down and killed all but 3 of my riggers. So then I jumped through the portal and popped out where Vincent started, where they had moved the 3 Brimstone, they had moved the 3 Kurnoth and the 2. I killed like both of the way guys with my shooting, and I chainsawed down one of the Kurnoth.
Yeah. Long story short, they end up with 4 guys over there. That's all that matters, okay?
Yep.
Your riggers are dead.
Yep.
They have only 4 guys. And the...
1 Brimstone.
Well, no.
Yeah. Oh, no.
We're not there yet.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
They have 4 guys over there. You need 5 to claim the point.
Yeah.
And Tom's guys have all died now. Like, Tom has no models left on the table.
Yeah.
Because the 400-point freaking Skyfires plowed through his 20 Arco like they didn't even exist.
Yeah.
Okay. And then had sat on our other point in the corner.
Yeah.
Now, I've held that corner point. They got that one, so we're deadlocked.
Right.
But if they get if they get both of our points, they're going to jump ahead.
Yep.
In an unrecoverable number.
Yes.
Right. And but they don't have 5 models, and they look around and they realize the one Brimstone horror that Tom had failed to kill is still sitting there
in front
next
of the
to the portal. So he rolls through, doesn't roll the 1, so he doesn't die, pops out, scores the points.
So
Ta-da!
We end up going 1-1 with them.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like, that Brimstone was the MVP of that little recon match, because without it, it would have ended in a win for us.
And I want to point out, Sean and Jake were leading in points at this point. Like, they were sitting at 10.
Yeah.
So somehow we had been matched up with them.
You say that like it's
well, I mean,
possible.
we'd only
we were on 7, they were on 10.
They were
had
on
to do with alliances and stuff like that. It wasn't that weird that we had matched up. We need to talk about people not playing each other twice and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was that game. And the reason we paired up with them in the recon game was
we
because
learned this later.
We didn't realize this, but then they were our first opponent the next morning.
Yeah. So our game 4 was against them, and they were basically like they were seed 1 or whatever. They were the leaders.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the game. I would say like this was the game for the tournament for us.
Sure.
Good and bad.
Yeah, sure. Like this is the game that Tom made reference to at the beginning as being the game where he saw me the most angry he's ever seen me, which I have a simmering anger.
Yes.
I would describe it as.
Yeah.
And yes. So before we talk about the specifics of the game, I'll explain something that I hate.
Let's talk about your psychographic profile, Vince.
Well, it's not even what I want to talk about right now. Like, before that, here is a thing that has always bothered me in Warhammer. And it's one of the things that always drove me crazy about 8th edition.
Okay.
I hate it when stupid nuances of idiosyncrasies of terrain or vision or movement stop what should be a common sense thing from happening.
Yeah.
Okay, like the rules are getting in the way of all potential reality.
Yes.
The easy example of this, to give a very simple example from back in like 8th edition Warhammer.
Yeah.
You had like a giant or something like that.
Yep.
And he has a base, whatever he has, and he has a vision arc that comes off the front, and there's a single model that walks up and stands next to him on his left.
Yep.
He cannot do anything to that model.
Right.
Right? He can't see it. He can't charge it. He can't attack it. He can do nothing to it.
Right.
Railroading with like random movers back in the day drove me bonkers with this kind of crap. Because there's no reality to it.
Right.
it's just like it is the destruction of. And look, I'm not all about realism, okay? Like, I don't care about that. This is a game, it's an abstraction, I get it.
But
I
all
have no problem with that. But just like all potential for similitude is gone.
Yeah.
A massive giant, there is a thing standing 6 feet off his left foot, and he just has to be like, oh, can't do anything to that guy.
Yeah, it's not an attacking bird. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is, yes.
When that kind of stuff happens, because of like, oh, you're like, because of the nuance of where like a tree sits, or something like that.
Yeah.
You cannot, like, you have all the distance in the world to complete a charge.
Yes.
But because of the fact that there's like a 1/16 of an inch off,
Yep.
you can't actually get there.
Yeah.
Right? So these sorts of things.
You have to end your move within a half inch.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'd be in weapon range, I'd blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
These kinds of things drive me bananas.
Yeah.
Okay, just crazy. Now, the other thing that really makes me angry, that I don't like, is I play Warhammer for one reason. I like my toys. I want to play with my toys. I don't care if I lose. I really don't. Like, I could go through a tournament and lose 5 games in a row and have the best old time, as long as I got to, like, push my models forward and attack with them and kill some stuff. I don't need to kill more stuff. I could get tabled. Okay? I don't care. As long as I feel like I got to make, like, attack rolls and damage rolls and some things died, and, like, my models got to do the reason that I put them on the table in the first place and spent fucking, hours painting them or whatever.
Yep.
Then I'm okay. Like,
Yeah.
Great. It is the best game ever. Every time.
Yeah.
I just want to play the game. And that's just it. If you look
You
at
just wanna roll
both of
dice.
these things, to me, both of these things are not playing the game.
Right.
To me. I'm not, maybe you have a
Yeah.
different opinion and that's perfectly fine. But to me, these things aren't playing the game. So, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So, that I'm prefacing all of that to set the story for this.
Yep.
I'm going to be talking more here because we're in like some construction and it's raining bad and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I don't want to die, so Tom's going to focus on driving for a moment while I set up game 4.
Yep.
So, Sean and Jake, as I said, are like, they're really good players. And by the way, also super duper nice guys,
Yep.
smart, friendly. Like, they are your ideal opponents in my mind. Okay?
Yeah.
Because
They're going to give you the best game,
Yeah.
like a top tier game, and they're going to do it pleasantly and fun.
Yeah. And yeah.
And cordially. Yeah.
So these dudes are awesome. Now, so this game, I don't even remember what the warpstone thing was, but it was taking little points. It's fairly irrelevant to the story, whatever. Little things drop from the heavens, you claim them, it doesn't really matter. Actually, the warpstone was completely irrelevant in this game for the most part.
Right.
Like,
So there were 2 random things that would pop up. There was a rally point that would pop up in one of the 3 sections of your side of the table, or on each side of the table, and you had to get to the rally point in the other side, and you didn't know where that deployment was going to be.
Right. So, and then there was a bigger crystal you had to claim and stuff like that. Whatever. It's fine.
Yeah. That wouldn't show up till turn 3 and whatever.
Yeah, so, again, we had, like, the Skyfires and a Gaunt Summoner with a Bale Wind and a Shaman and stuff like that. It's sort of a standard clutch of siege things you would expect in 1,000
Skyfires, a set of pinks, a set of brims.
Yeah. Yep.
The Sylvaneth, we had a Way Watcher. We had
6 Scythe Hunters, 3 Bow Hunters, and then
Branch Witch.
a Branch Witch and 10 Tree Revs.
Yep.
There's
There's a Zangor Shaman, obviously, for the siege.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, they set up their woods, and long story short, what ended up happening is this was a fairly tight deployment.
Table already.
Yeah.
Or
Like this, yeah, like the table itself was quite busy.
Yeah.
Because again, this was Vlad's crypt or mausoleum or
yeah, it was
whatever
like
it's
18-inch deployment line, maybe.
called. Yeah, that sounds right. It wasn't, I think it was 18. But there's a big giant thing in the middle of the table.
Yeah.
And
the main causeway, they put a triple woods.
Right, so double woods, not
Or
triple.
it was a double.
So there's a double wood setting up there. So what happened is, like, in the beginning, they kind of moved up and they had like
We gave them turn 1.
Yeah, we gave them turn 1. because we wanted to play for the double for various reasons.
Yep.
And we wanted to we needed to pull them out to cross the distance.
And we knew with a lot of their heavy range, they would likely, accommodate.
Right. Like, they had to come forward to bring stuff into range and stuff like that. This was the game where you had a boat.
Yeah,
So you had a boat with stuff in it for dropping.
Yeah.
So that we could claim that rally point on the far side.
Right.
And you actually used your Thunders. How about that? And they did good.
I did.
They did good work.
Well, kind of.
They killed a unit of Kurnoff hunters with
Bow hunters.
bows, yeah. I'm going to call that good work, Tom.
Yeah. Okay. So what did you Vince did a standard deployment.
Yep.
I did an interesting deployment. In the boat, I put 10 company and 5 Thunderers, deployed them in the heavens, and had them just kind of sit out for most of the game. And the idea was that I was going to have them drop in wherever our rally point is, because you just need the total number of models within 6 inches. And
the theme of this tournament should have been watch Vince's Iron Jaws plus a couple random dwarves that happen to stick around fight 2,000 points.
As I either left the table or waited.
Just never showed up to begin with.
Showed up, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So there was those 16 in the heavens, and then I had a unit, 2 units, or I had a unit of 10 company in the back. I had a chemist in the back, and I had 6 Endrin riggers with 4 saws, 2 grapples, set up on the back edge of the table. Go.
Yeah. So. Like, I don't want to go the blow by blow, but basically here's the long and short of it.
Oh, and their warlord had neg 4 rend.
Yeah, he did. Because of phantasmal weapons.
Yep.
The warlord is getting progressively nastier every game.
Yeah.
And
this is game 4, and he is
a real bad dude at this point.
And we're all melee.
Everybody went melee.
Yeah. So
shooting was too good last year. Melee was too good this year.
Yep.
But again, it's fine. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all evens.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like anybody had an advantage over anybody else
because everybody has access to it.
Yeah. Everybody had access to it. So whatever.
When
I say too good, I just mean like it tilted the choices. Right?
Sorry. Yeah. So Vince. So they move forward.
You can turn off your wipers now.
So they move forward. And then Vince, I lined up, you lined up on the right,
Correct.
And you went in. Let's talk about what, you want to do mine first or yours?
I'll do mine.
Okay, you do yours first.
So, what ended up happening is they kind of moved up to the side of this big, massive mausoleum rock piece in the center.
Which you had to have more models within 6 inches.
Right, so there's kind of drawing everybody to it. So they had the 6 Scythe Hunters, the Skyfires, and then they threw the Brims up to kind of shield for them. And so I swung my Brutes around, I swung my Brutes up with a destruction move, pulled the Warlord forward, pulled the Maw Crusher forward. What I didn't account for nice. Oh, no, there we go. We're back.
Sorry about that.
I don't know what happened there. I got a phone call. Hopefully it's still going, right?
Yep, we're live.
Okay, cool. All right, so what I didn't account for with this was how much the trees would really impede the movement of everything, and I just get stuck.
Yeah.
Because the long story short is, of course, the Brimstones all just died. The Warlord got stuck in with the Scythe Hunters, and being immune to Rend, he eventually just he eventually was going to chop them down. Because at this point, he's doing, D3+1 damage per attack.
Yeah.
And
this is the game that you did your retreat and charge.
Right, so I could retreat and charge. I had the command ability to retreat and charge.
Right.
And the Maw Crusher's up there. He gets pulled into combat.
Yep.
Because somebody's within 3 inches and cannot attack anybody, nor move anywhere where he can attack anybody.
Because he can't retreat out.
Nor even retreat anywhere and recharge to attack anybody.
Right.
Because of the nuance of where his move was,
yep,
and where he could land,
yeah,
and the tree stands, the actual trees, there was just literally nowhere for him to go.
Right.
So he had to sit there for 2 rounds
and
just stuck.
Thumb up. Yeah.
Just nothing. And this, it was the definition of frustrating, because this model clearly could have been doing some kind of work.
Right.
To actually see on the road.
Sorry.
to actually like attack. Like we had critical fights going on that this guy could have pushed, right?
And swung.
Yeah, and he was like, so I would get him buffed, and I was trying to measure and make sure everything worked, and then like things would slightly not line up. I mean, I'm talking by like multiple times he was out by like this much, and it was the king of frustrating.
Yeah, because Vince didn't get to play with his toys.
Right. So like my big fun toy had to just sit there.
Yeah. So on my side of the table, I zoomed my Warlord up and pinned his Warlord. He was in range. And by the way, the Warlord's doing wounds was one of the objectives. And so I basically cleared off all of his chaff on my side of the board with my Warlord quick and pinned his Warlord with Neg 4 Ren. Because Vince's pigs were body blocking their objective, their rally point on our side. And my goal was to get into, I was on their Warlord so that we wouldn't have any problems. So that Neg 4 Ren wouldn't come out and clean. Because by the way, the melee Warlords were doing a D5 attacks, D3 plus 1 damage, 3 up, Neg 3 Ren, Neg 4 Ren for the Zinch one, D3 plus 1 damage. So they would have just cleaned anything they touched. And so I pinned him with my super tanky, tough Warlord, who was like 3 up, reroll 1s, ignore Ren, and held him there. And I buffed up the Endrin Riggers and sent them deep into the back line. Back into the middle of all of their armies. I moved 12, ziplined in 24 inches, and landed like a 7 or 8 inch charge, and just went straight into those Skyfires, fully buffed up.
Yep.
And murdered 20 wounds worth of Skyfires. Killed 5 of the 6 models. It was glorious to watch those Skyfires just burn to Endrin Riggers.
Yeah, sure.
And then they went.
Yeah, and then it was their turn.
Yep.
And all your Endrin Riggers died, and he folded. Well, not in this order.
No, he folded.
He folded reality and brought back all 5 Skyfires, and then killed your Endrin Riggers.
Yeah, that happened.
So in the end, 0 was accomplished except the destruction of your unit.
Hey, I almost got him.
Yeah, sure. That's worth a lot. No, I'm sorry. Wait, it's worth nothing.
Shut up. It felt really good.
Well, that's good.
It felt like, this is a 240 point unit. Like, I felt good about Trey. Yeah.
No, it was
Yeah.
almost got him.
Yeah.
Nothing actually happened, but it was neat. It was neat to watch.
Yeah.
So then the long and short of how this broke out.
Yeah.
Is that I was beyond frustrated as we go into round 4. Okay, and again, please don't mistake me as thinking that I mean that I was angry at Jake or Sean. They had nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
That is not them. They were awesome the whole time.
Yep.
They were playing smart. I have zero frustration with anything they did.
Yeah.
This was the nuance of the way funny things happened to align combined with the rules of the game.
Yep.
Okay? Period. End of story.
Yep.
So
Vince is over there not doing anything.
Basically, yeah. I mean, kind of stuck in.
And
the Skyfires at this point swoop around.
Hold on.
Okay.
One of the reasons that forces their hand is that I drop the 500 points down.
Yeah.
And I clear off basically everything else that was threatening over there. Like they had 3 bow Kurnoffs, and they now had 16 models within threat range, and all of my guys had range. And so I shot off their Gaunt Summoner. I shot off a bunch of support models. I shot off the Kurnoffs. They came down and just unloaded all of the guns.
Yeah.
I used one of a special item card that let me shoot in the hero phase. So I got a double round of shooting from a buffed up unit of Argonauts. Just tons of stuff.
Yep.
Cleared off that whole side. So now they had to come over and lay into my models over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they did, and then they basically wiped all your dudes out except for the
ship. Yeah, the 14 wound ship. Yeah, they left alone.
Which is good, because that, the end story of that ship is it sailed forward and hit our rally point.
Yeah, and I sat on their rally point, and we had 1 model on theirs, and they had 0 on ours.
Right. So, and it basically meant that we won that objective. So, 1 is more than 0.
Yep.
Which was awesome.
So
but I'd say the boat did its job.
Yeah, it did. But so the Skyfire swooped around to try to get to the pigs because they knew they wouldn't get their objective unless they had bodies on the table. They had mobile Skyfires.
Yep. So he moves up and he attacks, and he like they're shooting, and then he goes into melee the pigs, which I don't think is ever the right choice. By the way, I don't think 6 Skyfires actually win that fight most of the time against 6 pigs.
I don't know, but anyways.
Especially given the support I had nearby. The
It's true.
Skyfires are alone. He wasn't near his shaman.
No, it's true. It's true.
So, but the point is that he comes in and, like, I don't know, he killed the pig, right, on the melee.
Well, they triggered the Maw Crusher. Oh, so the height of all of this was that Vince was like,
yeah, in the middle of this. They used one of their hero cards to actually make the only thing my
skill
Maw Crusher could, skill cards, whatever,
Yeah.
they used one of their cards. The only thing my Maw Crusher was next to was the pigs. And they had a hero card that they got to choose one of our models and make it attack our stuff. So the only thing I actually got to swing on for the first 4 rounds of the game until the bottom of 4
was your own pigs.
was my own pigs.
Yeah, and you killed like 1.5 pigs.
I killed 1.5 pigs, yeah, which is hilarious because, you know, like, clearly I was so angry I couldn't even roll well against myself.
Yep.
So then, so the key is, so he kills, well, this ends up working out. This is a happy ending.
Yeah.
He turns around and smashes one of the pigs. I think he did it unintentionally. I don't think it was the skill card. I
He
think
needed
the
to
Maw
make
Crusher
space.
needed to make space. He was pissed off at being hemmed
Yeah.
in.
And you
So-
even like broke the combat gauge you were given for the
I
event.
did, correct. I had a
You were
wooden
so
combat
angry.
gauge in my hand that I accidentally snapped because I was frustrated. Like, I was just sitting there squeezing my fist, and I snapped the thing in half.
It was a wooden combat gauge. It's fantastic.
No, it was the metal one from GW. I broke it in half. No, yes, it was a wooden combat gauge. I'm the Hulk.
Context. Yeah, go ahead.
So, so then the Skyfires come in and remove another pig.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the problem with removing another pig
Is they're giving the Maw Crusher
is that
more room.
It suddenly let the Maw Crusher like free.
Well, yes.
And remember, he can retreat and still charge. Or like,
Yeah,
I have the retreat and charge ability. Now at this
The
point,
command
he's
ability.
actually
Yeah.
out of combat because he had retreated in previous rounds in attempts to do things.
Yep.
And was just kind of stuck in this little tiny zone
Yep.
in the middle
Yep.
where he couldn't actually do anything.
But killing some pigs gave him some room to move.
Okay. And sorry I snapped the combat gauge. It's fine. I'll tape it back together.
They're great combat gauges.
Yes. So the pigs, enough pigs die.
Yep.
This dude's out of combat. The warlord turns around and throws the retreat and charge on the pigs,
Yep.
who then immediately just run around
Yeah.
the Skyfires to be on the other side
Yep.
and can still charge.
Yep.
The Maw Crusher then immediately has just like the easiest charge in the world because he just floats over, lands 3 inches away, and auto charges them because he's, again, Iron Jaws. So he comes in, bulks some of them down, smashes them down to 1 Skyfire with 2 wounds.
Yep.
Now, normally that would suck because there's still Scythe Hunters who could chop down my Warlord.
Yep.
And there's still a Skyfire who's going to get a go. Like, they're going to get an
Yep.
activate. My skill card that I've been sitting on the whole freaking time.
Mine
is-
was an item card. His was a skill card.
Yeah. I'm messing up the names of the cards.
Yeah.
Whatever. The card I had
Yeah.
was when one of your units attacks, play this card, and if you've got another unit within 3 inches, they get to immediately go. So the Maw Crusher smashes the Skyfires down to 1 guy with 2 wounds left, and then I play the card. The pigs come in, kill the last Skyfire in revenge, trigger smashing and bashing.
And now the Warlord,
The Warlord goes, kills the Scythe Hunter.
Yeah. And so, like, in one sequence
Little
of...
glorious orgy of destruction.
Yes.
All models that they had were removed from that side of the board. Just
and just
zip.
any threat that they had. Really.
Yeah.
Like, that they could actually threaten with, were gone.
Yep.
1 round. The one combat phase. Which was glorious.
It was. My God, was that a necessary thing? Like, at that point, yeah, I don't want to make allusions to anything inappropriate, but yes, there was a build up there. So, but look, that was like, take the Maw Crusher thing out of it. It was a super, like, technical, like, really carefully played game.
Yeah.
And, you know, all in all, it was, yes, Paul, all of those things. So it was it was well played, and we ended up winning 3-1.
3-1.
Yeah, 3-1.
Yeah, and they were top seed at that point.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, it was great to play them. It was a really great game. I mean, yes, that part frustrated me, but again, I want to put the difference between happenstance.
The mechanics.
Yeah, just happenstance. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And the game. The game is them and the way that they play and all that. That was all good.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Agree completely.
It was just this little stupid thing that happened in the middle.
Yep. So we actually ended up sitting really well competitively, numbers wise, going into game 5.
Yeah. Decent.
Yeah.
We're on 10 points, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
And slightly more than 3 per game, which I think is what you want. Right?
Yep.
Or sorry, slightly less than 3 per game.
Yep.
Yeah. So then game 5 was against Alex.
Yep.
And what's his guy's name?
I'm blanking.
Crap. I'm sorry, dude.
It's from the I forget their club name too.
Screw City.
Screw City. Yeah. Is he? I completely blank.
I don't know.
I'm a terrible person.
But anyway, Alex, who organizes the tournament at Adepticon, right?
Yeah.
And Alex, I'd never gotten to play Alex before, actually. Alex Gonzalez, who's a really awesome dude. Co-host of Garage Hammer now, obviously.
Yep.
And he had an awesome army that I freaking loved.
Let me just open by saying I loved their army.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Their force was incredible. Yes, frozen Darkville. Okay, got it.
Yes.
So, they had Alex brought a war altar and 70 flagellants.
Yeah.
And his partner had 30 executioners, 30 bleak swords.
No, 40.
40 bleak swords.
40 bleak swords, 30 executioners, 2 sorceresses.
I think that's it.
That might be it.
Yeah. So, we were staring down 140 infantry.
Yep.
I put 14 models on the table in a standard game. I was literally outclassed by an order of magnitude. Literally, he had an order of magnitude more models than me on the table.
Yes, they did.
That's true.
Yes, and the other thing that you did was that you would put we had to put 1 unit in prison. They put 5 liberators in prison.
Yeah, and I put the brutes in.
And you put 10 brutes.
5 brutes.
Or 5 brutes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I had even less models. I only had 9 models in this game.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very few models.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had 9 models.
So
9!
I lined up
ridiculous.
against. Is it Minty? No.
Yes, we're sorry. We don't remember your name, dude. You were a super cool guy, and I feel terrible about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to write down everybody's name for when we do this recap.
I did, but they're in my paperwork.
Yeah.
So, and I forgot to bring them out. Anyways, so I lined up against 30 executioners, and 40 the bleak swords.
Yep.
Yeah. And with the warlord in the middle of that, and then sorcerers on the back edge of their unit. I guarded our bunker or our jail with the 20 company. I put 10 company to take the table objective, which was between our 2 lines.
Yep.
This was an 18-inch deployment across from them. And
no, it wasn't that far.
What it
had to be 12.
We were 18 inches out, so it was 12 off of them. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So again, we've only got a 12-inch gap in the middle.
Yeah. And no, it had to be more than that because I did a full move and I was still.
Oh, you're right. No, you're right. It was 18.
It was an 18. Yeah. Because
Okay.
I had 6 inches. Anyways, so I lined up against basically the 30 executioners.
Yep.
And I had some guys that I was going to set up in the terrain objective, and I had a chemist, and I put the 12 engine riggers in a single unit.
Yep.
And I was like, well, Vince is like, I'm just going to run away from those executioners. And I was like, well, there's only one way we're going to deal with this. So, top of 1, I buffed him up with the chemist and set 12 riggers into the 30 executioners.
Yeah, I mean, the top of one, to be clear, we landed every charge and engaged their whole line.
Yeah.
Like, they were set up on their line.
Down the line. Yep.
So the Maw Crusher went forward.
And hit the flagellants. The 70 flagellants.
Yep. Well, the middle pack of 30, the biggest group.
Yes. Yep.
The Warlord went into the 20 pack.
Yep.
The pigs moved up 9 and then landed their 9-inch long charge against the Bleak Swords. And, like, they rolled boxcars on their charge. So, I mean, they actually, like, lined straight down the line.
Yep.
And
the riggers moved up on the executioners.
Yep.
Dumped all of their machine guns into them.
Yep.
And the drill cannons. Drill cannons proc mortal wounds. Hit the sorceress with mortal wounds. Had a chance to kill her with there's no trading with some people. And ended up only doing 4 wounds to her total between those 2 things instead of 5, which is really sad. I'm going to get somebody with that someday.
Sure. I believe in you.
Thanks. It ended up, by the time the riggers were done, I think I had killed 23 executioners.
Sure. I mean, the pigs charged in and made a mess out of the Bleak Swords. I mean, I cut, like, more than 20 off of them.
Yep. Yep.
And the saddest part about this was the Warlord chopped 10, only 10. Like, I had terrible rolls on my side for attacks in the first round.
Wow.
So out of 7 attacks, hitting on 3s.
John Wanger. There we go.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Yep.
Very cool.
Alex
Thanks,
John. Awesome. Thanks, Paul.
So, out of 7 attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s, that could not be saved against because there's no armor. The flagellants don't have armor. Doing D3 plus 1 damage.
Yep.
You know, out of the first round, I killed 10 flaggies.
Yep.
That was including shooting at them six times.
So you just really fluffed all your attacks on the Maw Crusher.
Well, that was on the Warlord, right? So the Warlord went in, he shot, killed like 2, and then in melee killed 8, which is, you know, pretty under par.
Yeah.
For whatever.
Did you go east or south?
What's that? 65 south. You're just taking this all the way to 70.
Okay.
So the Maw Crusher, who was buffed with the War Chanter.
Yep.
So he's hitting on 2s.
Yep.
With his relevant stuff.
Yep.
The Maw Crusher fists are great for clearing infantry because you got 4 attacks, hit on 2s, wound on 3s, rend that didn't matter in this case because they had no armor, and 3 damage each.
Yep.
Okay, hit on 2s, wound on 3s. 0 damage round 1.
Yep.
0 damage round 2.
Yeah.
Not because of any saves, because I rolled 3 1s on the initial attacks and then a 2 to wound. And then I rolled 2 1s and 2 1s on the second round. Like 2 1s to hit, 2 hits.
Yep.
And then out and eating 3s to wound everyone.
So you're just terrible.
Yeah, and I mean, well, what that ended up meaning was that I never got to trigger Smash and Bastion because I left 5 flagellants alive from the Maw Crusher. I mean, I still chopped through 25.
Yeah.
Flagellants.
Well, let's be clear.
Like, I still killed 25 flagellants out.
But you would have.
But I would have killed the whole unit of 30 easy.
Yeah.
So so then I didn't get to Smash and Bastion, and just other things sucked.
Yep.
Because of that.
Yep.
It wasn't like the biggest deal in the world, but it wasn't great.
Yeah.
And so there were a couple just unfortunate dice rolls. But here's the thing that I want to comment. So Alex and John, let's really consider what just happened to them at the top of one.
Right,
okay?
Because how many Bleak Swords did you kill?
Let's say 21 or something like that.
The pigs went in, of the 40, killed 21.
They nailed they were more than 8 inches away and actually nailed their 8-inch charge. So the piggy bites were doing D3 damage, and I rolled 15 out of that.
Yep.
So, and he failed every save against the pig bites.
Did he?
That happened. Out of those D3 pig bites, he didn't make a single armor save. On 5s, re-rolling 1s and 2s.
Yeah.
It was shocking.
Yeah, it was all 2s and 3s. Or no, 3s and 4s.
3s and 4s, and his re-rolls were 1s, 2s, through 4s. Yeah. Again, that is awful luck. So, at the top of one, oh no, poor me, I only killed 25 flagellants with my Maw Crusher instead of all 30.
Yeah. I mean, we removed how many? 70 models off the table at the top of one?
Something like that,
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, Now, walk around. This is where we talked about like a week or 2 weeks ago or whatever on Warhammer Weekly when you got to talk about sports, right?
Yep.
Put ourselves in their shoes. They had 140 models at the top of one they set up.
And
at the bottom of our turn, they have 70 on the table.
Yeah. They just move half of them off the table.
And we're still in their face.
Right.
Right? Like, it's not like anything died.
Right.
You know,
like
I was down a pig.
Like
you were down a couple injured riggers.
I was down 2 injured riggers.
Right.
Yeah. So of my pack of 12,
the punchback was not significant, right?
Right.
But Alex and John did not
get angry
or anything like that, or even get like
uneven,
dismayed. No.
Right.
They kept their eye on the prize.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And we're like, whatever, we didn't need those guys to win.
Yeah.
All right. Let's just.
Yep.
And so, you know, I mean, the sort of long middle of this, there's too much nuance in it. This was also a very cagey game.
Yep.
The long middle of this is that, and it has to do with like weird tokens getting passed around to units and stuff, whatever.
Yep.
Is eventually the Maw Crusher gets brought down, just by, you know, numbers of attacks, right?
And you need 5 models to free people from the prison.
Right.
And we basically mutually destruct everybody's actual units.
Right. And so, in the end, nobody got anybody free from the prison, because none of us had 5 models alive.
Right.
Anywhere near that
and
side of
we
the
couldn't
board.
move them to the prisons to actually free them.
Right.
Like, I had 3 skyhooks running around still from an Argonaut Company unit, and, like, it was just a mess. Like, it was just,
it was just brutality.
Yeah.
And eventually the Warlord got dragged down.
Yours did.
Mine did, yeah. My Warlord got dragged down. Which, by the way, that is a legit mistake I made that I was not sure if I was going to tell you that I made.
Okay.
Because it's my own dumb fault that Warlord got killed.
What?
I was trying to kill the altar to get rid of the shooty attack, because it's that shooty attack is very dangerous.
Yeah.
But what I should have done is when I charged in that first round, I should have plowed all 7 into the flagellants.
Yeah.
And also I was trying to get rid of the battle shock immunity and the 6-up board save.
Yep.
Stay on 65 sound.
Yep.
It's not gonna matter.
Yep.
The problem is that I could have cleared all the flagellants and then my Warlord wouldn't went down.
Oh yeah.
Because I wouldn't have had the massive attacks coming back at me.
Yep.
So I mean, that was just I was prioritizing the wrong thing. I was afraid that shooty laser would be able to kill our choice units, but I think it would have been out of range of what it did. So whatever.
No, it is what it is.
My Maw Crusher gets dragged down. My Warlord gets dragged down. My pigs start running and eventually hit their Warlord, chases them all down. Long story short, it was a very back and forth game. They made some good dice break in their favor at the end of the game and played very smartly.
Yep.
Like the combination of a smart player plus just 1 or 2 good rolls.
Yeah.
Right? They had plenty of dice break against them, especially in the early game.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Where they had horrid rolling.
Yep.
Okay. And then they just had pulled a couple out. They stayed at it. They stayed strong, and they pulled it out. And it was a 3-1. Like we
3-0.
lost
3-0.
Sorry,
we had
3,
0 points.
Yeah. So
we went 0-3.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we were leading in multiple objectives for most of the game. We were leading the train objective. We were leading kills at least early on.
Yeah.
And they were able to stay consistent, keep their eye on the prize, and they pulled it out.
Yep.
Yeah. That was a great game. Alex and John played a heck of a game.
Yeah.
So kudos to them.
And they got my vote for
best sportsman.
For sports.
Yeah.
They absolutely got it. I don't think that's supposed to be like a private thing. I don't know, but I don't care. I'll openly say they got my vote for best sports.
Yep.
Because again,
they took that on the chin.
That top of 1 was so demoralizing if it's you experiencing that. And that's my point, is not only did they not get down, they stayed happy, kept fighting, and won, and zotted us.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it was they played great. Yeah.
So that was a really, really good game. And so that was the 5 games. Overall, so we ended on 10. Yeah, we ended on 10. We didn't get 8 points last game.
10
which
20.
is fine.
Yeah.
10 or 20.
Yep.
Straight middle.
Yep.
But I feel like we played 5 pretty solid games. I didn't really feel like there was anything that I'm not saying we didn't make mistakes. We made a ton of mistakes.
Sure, but like I think we could have competed for best overall had we won that last game. Like had we won big on the I don't know. I mean, we'd have been 14.
I don't think anybody's voting us sports.
Probably. Yeah. Getting kicked so hard.
You're shooty guys, and I was running melee monsters. That's not really like
it's not a recipe for
positive, for getting good sports votes.
Yep.
But like, overall, I was I was thrilled with the tournament. I walked out after that round 5, feeling absolutely jazzed. It was 5 great rounds. We didn't play any bad people. But I mean, that's the thing with holy events.
Yeah.
Is that I don't know that I ever play anybody.
There's not really any bad apples in the group.
Right. There's nothing in the bunch. It's all good people. Like, so basically, no matter who you're matched with. As I was like talking to Domus at the end, and to Domus and Tom, who were like on their own game right behind us, and my comment was literally the thing that made me the most sad about the tournament is I didn't get to play everybody I actually wanted to play.
Right.
There's just not enough games.
Yeah.
To actually get the games in with everybody I want to get games in with.
Yep.
And I think that's a statement to the strength of the crew and the community and the people who show up there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was a wonderful experience. So to give you some context, last year, Vince and I had a lot of almosts.
Sure.
Like last year when we did our decompressing our Holy Havoc, we tied for best overall, but it broke against us. We almost had best warlord.
Right.
We almost had best painted army. But I made Vince run Skaven.
He made me not just specifically run Skaven, but bring bad models.
Bad models, yeah. Bad models, square bases.
Never used.
Yeah. But we wanted to have them as an option, and that really struck against us, for the painting scores and stuff like that. And so, we basically had 3 second-place finishes last year.
Sure.
And when we were talking about this year, one of the things that we kind of resolved is that, we wanted to compete in all of the categories.
Sure.
That was something that we wanted to make sure.
Well, it's a very hobby-focused event, too.
It is. Which of
is
the awards,
my trigger, period.
Yes, of the awards, there's best overall, best sportsman, and then basically 3 hobby awards. There's a hobby for individual warlord. There's a hobby for fan favorite war host, or fan favorite army. So one of the 2 players would get that of a team. And then there's
the fan favorite was team.
Oh, the fan favorite was team. Sorry.
Warhost was individual.
And then Warhost was individual. Sorry.
And Warlord was individual.
Yeah, and Warlord was individual player. And so of those 5,
best overall went to Mortal Realms.
Mortal Realms, yeah.
Eric and Davey. Who had a beautiful army full of just gorgeous conversions.
Yeah.
If everybody saw Stone
They
Monks,
run KO as well.
Yeah, they had a KO/death.
They went KO vampire.
Soulblight.
Soulblight. Yep.
So if you saw if everybody saw Stone Monks 2-headed zombie griffin.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Thing, which was awesome. The converted phoenix that's floating through the building.
Yep.
Did that.
Yeah.
Looked really good. A great army. So they were clearly very strong on paint. They're 2 of the friendliest guys you'll ever play against.
So they probably got a bunch of spores, and they did well. They did well. They had multiple 3-point games.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they were strong all around. Totally makes sense that they won best overall.
Yep.
Best sports went to, as I mentioned, the team we played in round 1.
Yep.
And they, like I said, it was awesome about that is they had just been paired up. They were 2 singles who, Steve welcomes singles in because if he'll just pair people up.
Yep.
And you would have never known that playing them, by the way. The 2 got along so well. I just assumed they were part of the same club and old friends.
Yep.
Which was
they
awesome.
were definitely more friendly towards each other than you and I were.
I mean, I suppose that should have been a clue. True friendship can only come when it's mixed with years of seething hatred. And then long story short is between the 2 of us, we won the other 3 awards.
Yep.
I mean, that's the story. So I don't want to overplay that or overblow it, but We won fan favorite, like I mentioned at the top. Thank you very much
Yep.
for everybody who voted, because that's awesome. I don't know what to say to that other than I'm deeply moved that people would vote for the stuff that we do.
Yep.
That's awesome and humbling.
Yep.
Tom won Best War Host, which is very well deserved. Tom plowed a lot of work and love into that board and into his army and into his conversions and all of that, and has a wonderfully unique force in the world of KO. There are no other KO in the world that really look like Tom's. And then and I managed to get revenge for last year and win Best Warlord, which I was thrilled about, because I really did put a lot of work into that mech boss and the narrative and painting all the extra heads for him that he could keep. Because so my Warlord I had a baggie of heads of all the other armies, painted heads, and whoever we faced, I would then add a head to his trophy rack.
Yep.
Every time. So I had, like, by the end, he had
a bunch of magnetized heads hanging from the trophy rack. Yeah.
So and I'll glue all those on when I get home. Those will become permanent.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have glue with me to do it. Like
I had glue. You should have asked.
Now they were just sticky tacked on there.
Okay.
But when I get home, I'll actually glue them as a permanent.
Yeah.
Because he'll never compete at a holy Havoc event.
No, you'll make another one.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
assuming you even take those armies next year. So, yeah.
So, that was the thing. I mean, incredibly awesome. Like I said, thank you to Steve, to Vargas, to Belle, to Steve's wife, who was there the whole weekend and helping and keeping everything.
Steve's boys were there too.
Oh, were they really?
Yep.
I didn't see them, but that's fine. To everybody who came, everybody who just hung out and talked.
Yeah.
There was a lot of good Shadespire games going on. I got to watch a lot of good Shadespire games, and
made me excited. Landmine has my stuff should be shipped when I get home, either on Monday or on Tuesday. All of my Shadespire should be at the house.
Got to watch some Batman get played, which was cool. It was really completely awesome all the way around with all the best people. I mean, it's a thing I look forward to every year, and it's
it's on the docket.
Good time, top to bottom.
And luckily, Vince is going to do Holy Awards in February.
That is true. It happened this month to be a month in between LVO and Adepticon, so
you're able to make it.
You want to be in the left? I don't know if you are or not, but you want to be in the left 2 lanes.
Okay.
Yeah, you're in the right place. You're okay. But we are. I know the road up ahead of us is closed because of flooding.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's a thing. We're driving toward that right now.
Oh.
So now we have to say adieu.
Yep, and find a way home.
And actually find how we're going to get home, because the highway that we're going to take to get home is closed. And, so there you go. That was that.
That's news to me. That'll be exciting.
It's fun times. It's a wacky world we live in. What can I say? As I mentioned before, I'm going home tonight. I'll get home at like 2 or 3 in the morning. I'm driving from Chicago back, and now I'm going to fly back to Chicago tomorrow.
I know. You're driving home from Chicago right now.
To fly to Chicago tomorrow.
Yes.
Life's a funny thing.
Yep.
So, there we go. Thank you to everybody who was watching. Thank you to everybody who we played. Steve, thank you again. Everybody who ran the event, who's there.
Yep.
And we'll see you at Holy Wars. Bye-bye.